On the scorching afternoon of July 23, 1971, 7 experienced long-haul truckers begin what becomes their final journey across Nevada's unforgiving Highway 50. By evening, all 7 men lie dead in the twisted wreckage of a multi-vehicle collision that unfolds in complete darkness as a sudden sandstorm transforms the desert highway into a death trap. 7 families lose fathers, husbands, and sons in a matter of minutes. The Nevada Desert Highway crash of 1,971 claims more lives in a single incident than any previous trucking accident in the state's history, forever changing how America approaches highway safety in extreme weather conditions. If you want to understand how this preventable tragedy claimed 7 lives and reshaped transportation safety, subscribe to this channel. This episode is a fictionalized reconstruction inspired by real transportation accidents and transit safety investigations. Names, locations, and specific events have been created for storytelling purposes. The stretch of Nevada Highway 50 where 7 men die extends across some of the most desolate terrain in the continental United States. Known locally as the loneliest road in America, this two-lane ribbon of asphalt cuts through an endless expanse of sagebrush and alkali flats, connecting the mining communities of central Nevada with the outside world. The temperature on this July afternoon soars to 112 degrees Fahrenheit, causing heat mirages to dance across the pavement like liquid mercury. The air shimmers with such intensity that distant mountains appear to float above the horizon, their bases obscured by thermal distortions. This is high desert country, where elevation reaches 4,000 feet above sea level and the landscape stretches unbroken for dozens of miles in every direction. Ancient lake beds, dried for millennia, create vast flats of fine alkaline dust that lies waiting for the slightest disturbance. When the wind picks up, this powder becomes airborne, creating conditions that can reduce visibility to 0 in seconds. The region experiences fewer than 6 inches of rainfall annually, leaving the soil loose and unstable. Sparse vegetation offers no protection against the elements, and the nearest town lies 50 miles away. In 1971, Highway 50 serves as a critical freight corridor, carrying supplies to remote mining operations and hauling precious metals back to processing facilities in California and Utah. The road sees constant heavy truck traffic despite its isolation, with drivers pushing hard to maintain delivery schedules across the punishing terrain. Most truckers who work this route know its dangers intimately, understanding that mechanical failure or medical emergency here means waiting hours for help in temperatures that can kill. The highway infrastructure reflects the era's limited understanding of extreme weather safety. No weather monitoring stations exist along this remote stretch, leaving drivers dependent on radio reports from distant cities that often fail to capture rapidly changing local conditions. Emergency call boxes are spaced 20 miles apart, and cellular communication remains decades in the future. When trouble strikes on Highway 50, drivers face it alone. The Nevada Department of Transportation maintains minimal facilities along this route, with the nearest maintenance depot located 60 miles east in Ely. Road crews patrol the highway twice weekly during summer months, checking for washouts and debris, but they lack resources for continuous monitoring. The state's highway safety budget focuses primarily on urban areas where traffic density justifies investment in advanced warning systems and weather stations. Highway 50 carries a grim safety record by 1971, with multiple fatalities recorded each year from heat exposure, mechanical failures, and single-vehicle accidents. The combination of extreme isolation, harsh climate, and heavy truck traffic creates conditions where minor incidents escalate into life-threatening emergencies. State records document numerous cases of drivers found dead in their cabs after breakdowns, overcome by heat while waiting for assistance that arrived too late. The trucking industry in 1971 operates under less stringent safety regulations than modern standards require. Driver rest periods are loosely enforced, equipment inspections are infrequent, and communication systems are primitive. Independent owner-operators, who comprise most of the traffic on routes like Highway 50, often defer maintenance to maximize profits, running equipment until failure forces repairs. This economic pressure proves particularly dangerous on remote highways where mechanical problems can become fatal. Previous incidents along Highway 50 have claimed individual lives, but nothing approaches the scale of what unfolds on July 23rd. A year earlier, 2 truckers die in separate heat-related emergencies within a single week, prompting brief discussions about improved emergency services. However, budget constraints and the route's low political priority prevent meaningful safety improvements. The highway continues operating with minimal support infrastructure, setting the stage for the massive tragedy that follows. Weather patterns across central Nevada are notoriously unpredictable during summer months, with sudden wind shifts capable of generating sandstorms that appear without warning. Local meteorological conditions create unique challenges, as temperature differentials between the heated desert floor and cooler upper atmosphere generate powerful downdrafts. These air movements can lift thousands of tons of fine desert dust into towering walls of debris that move across the landscape at highway speeds. The 7 men who lose their lives on July 23rd represent experienced professionals who understand the dangers of desert trucking. Lead driver Robert Martinez, age 45, has navigated Highway 50 for 12 years, hauling equipment to mining sites throughout Nevada. Martinez drives for Consolidated Freight Lines, operating a fully loaded semi-trailer carrying construction machinery bound for a copper mine near Tonopah. His logbook shows meticulous attention to safety procedures and maintenance schedules, with no violations recorded in his personnel file. Following Martinez by approximately 2 miles, James Sullivan, 38, pilots an independent rig loaded with mining supplies. Sullivan owns his truck outright, a pride that shows in the vehicle's immaculate condition and his reputation for reliability among dispatchers. This marks his 5th year working the Nevada routes, and his wife expects him home by midnight for their daughter's birthday celebration the following day. Thomas Chun, 52, drives the 3rd vehicle in what becomes a fatal convoy. Chun operates a livestock trailer, hauling cattle from ranches in eastern Nevada to processing facilities in California. His 20-year driving record includes commendations for safety and efficiency, making him a preferred contractor for several major agricultural companies. Chin's truck represents his life savings, purchased after years of saving from his previous job in construction. The 4th trucker, Michael Rodriguez, 29, hauls petroleum products in a specialized tanker truck. Rodriguez completed his commercial license training just 2 years earlier, but has quickly established himself as a competent driver on dangerous routes. His youth and aggressive driving style sometimes concern other truckers, but his safety record remains clean. This load of diesel fuel is destined for mining equipment at a remote operation 70 miles west. David Thompson, 41, drives a refrigerated trailer carrying food supplies to isolated communities along Highway 50. Thompson's route requires precise timing to maintain cold chain integrity, creating pressure to maintain speed despite challenging conditions. His 10 years of experience include navigation through numerous desert storms, giving him confidence in his ability to handle severe weather. Thompson supports a family of 5 and works extra shifts to afford his children's education. Kenneth Williams, 33, operates a flatbed trailer loaded with heavy machinery parts. Williams transitioned to trucking after military service, applying discipline learned in the Army to his driving career. His methodical approach to route planning and equipment maintenance has earned respect among dispatchers who rely on him for critical deliveries. This particular load includes replacement parts for mining equipment worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The final victim, Anthony Russo, 48, drives an empty trailer returning from a delivery to a remote construction site. Russo's 30-year career includes extensive experience with hazardous conditions, from mountain passes in winter to desert crossings in summer. His decision to return via Highway 50 reflects confidence in both his abilities and his well-maintained equipment. Russo plans to retire within 5 years and has been saving money for a small business venture. The morning of July 23rd begins with clear skies and typical desert heat building across central Nevada. Weather stations in Reno and Las Vegas report high-pressure systems dominating the region, with no significant weather events predicted. The National Weather Service issues routine heat advisories for outdoor activities, but provides no warnings about wind or dust conditions. Local radio stations broadcast standard summer travel advisories, recommending extra water and mechanical preparations for desert driving. Martinez begins his journey from Ely at 6:30 a.m., conducting his pre-trip inspection with characteristic thoroughness. His logbook notes engine temperature, tire pressure, and fuel levels, all within normal parameters. The Consolidated Freight Line's dispatcher confirms his route and expected arrival time, with no special instructions regarding weather or road conditions. Martinez's truck, a relatively new Kenworth tractor with a 350 horsepower Caterpillar engine, represents reliable equipment well suited for desert operations. Sullivan departs from the same truck stop 30 minutes later, having completed his own inspection routine. His independent status requires greater attention to mechanical details, as breakdown costs come directly from his profits. Sullivan's truck, a 1968 Peterbilt with a rebuilt Detroit diesel engine, shows signs of careful maintenance despite its age. His trailer carries mining supplies including chemicals, tools, and replacement parts worth $50,000. Chun leaves Ely at 7:15 a.m. with 40 head of cattle loaded in his specialized livestock trailer. The animals add complexity to his journey, requiring steady speeds and minimal stops to reduce stress. Chin's truck includes additional water capacity and cooling systems necessary for livestock transport in desert conditions. His route planning accounts for animal welfare regulations and delivery schedules that cannot accommodate delays. Rodriguez begins his petroleum haul at 7:45 a.m., following strict protocols for hazardous materials transport. His tanker truck carries 8,000 gallons of diesel fuel, requiring specialized handling and emergency procedures. Rodriguez's training includes hazmat certification and emergency response protocols, though his relative inexperience with desert conditions leaves him dependent on older drivers' advice. The petroleum load adds significant weight and changes the vehicle's handling characteristics. Thompson starts his refrigerated run at 8 a.m., with trailer temperatures set to maintain frozen foods during the desert crossing. His route includes multiple delivery stops, creating time pressure that influences his driving decisions throughout the day. Thompson's truck includes auxiliary power units to maintain refrigeration during stops, but extended delays could result in cargo spoilage worth thousands of dollars. Williams departs at 8:30 a.m. with his heavy machinery load properly secured according to Department of Transportation regulations. His flatbed trailer carries equipment weighing close to legal limits, requiring careful attention to weight distribution and tie-down procedures. Williams' military background shows in his systematic approach to load securing and route planning, though desert conditions present challenges different from his previous experience. Russo leaves last at 9 a.m., running empty, but maintaining his schedule for positioning at the next loading point. His empty trailer reduces weight but increases susceptibility to crosswinds, a factor that becomes critical as weather conditions deteriorate. Russo's extensive experience includes knowledge of wind patterns along Highway 50, though the events that follow exceed anything in his previous encounters. By noon, all 7 trucks are spread across a 40-mile section of Highway 50, maintaining steady progress through increasingly difficult conditions. Radio communications between drivers remain routine, with occasional reports about temperature readings and mechanical status. None of the truckers report unusual weather conditions, though heat mirages intensify as the day progresses. The first indication of changing weather appears at 2:30 p.m. when Martinez radios about increasing crosswinds near mile marker 127. His truck begins experiencing buffeting that requires constant steering corrections, though visibility remains clear. Martinez reduces speed slightly and advises following drivers to prepare for gusty conditions. This proves to be the last routine communication from the lead vehicle. At 2:45 p.m., Sullivan reports similar wind conditions, but notes an unusual haze developing on the southwestern horizon. The haze appears dark and low-hanging, unlike typical heat mirages. Sullivan's experience with desert weather raises concerns about the approaching disturbance, but he continues forward, believing he can outrun any developing storm. His decision to maintain speed rather than seek shelter proves fatal. Chen notices the approaching weather system at 3 p.m. and considers stopping at a roadside rest area. However, his livestock cargo requires continuous movement to prevent animal distress, and the nearest suitable shelter lies 30 miles ahead. Chen chooses to continue, planning to increase speed to clear the area before conditions deteriorate. This decision places him directly in the path of the developing sandstorm. Rodriguez observes the darkening sky at 3:15 p.m. and contacts his dispatcher for weather updates. The dispatcher reports no significant weather advisories for the region and encourages Rodriguez to maintain schedule. The lack of real-time weather information along this remote route means Rodriguez continues forward without understanding the severity of the approaching storm. His hazardous cargo makes this decision particularly dangerous. Thompson notes the changing conditions at 3:20 p.m., but focuses on maintaining refrigeration schedules that cannot accommodate extended delays. His route includes time-sensitive deliveries that would spoil if delayed by storm conditions. Thompson increases speed, hoping to reach his next stop before weather becomes problematic. This decision to prioritize cargo over safety contributes to his presence in the danger zone. Williams observes the approaching disturbance at 3:25 p.m. and considers the implications for his heavy load. Strong crosswinds could destabilize his flatbed trailer, but stopping in open desert offers no protection. Williams decides to continue toward higher ground ahead, believing elevation will provide better conditions. This tactical decision places him in the storm's direct path. Russo, traveling empty, has the most flexibility to seek shelter but chooses to maintain forward progress. His empty trailer makes him most susceptible to wind effects, but his experience suggests he can handle challenging conditions. Russo's confidence in his abilities leads him to continue rather than finding protection, a decision that proves fatal within hours. The critical failure that leads to 7 deaths begins at 3:40 p.m. when a massive downdraft strikes the desert floor approximately 5 miles southwest of the trucker's positions. Atmospheric conditions create a phenomenon known as a microburst, where cool air from higher altitudes suddenly plunges earthward at speeds exceeding 60 miles per hour. This downdraft strikes loose desert soil with tremendous force, instantly lifting millions of tons of fine alkaline dust into the atmosphere. The initial dust cloud rises to heights of 8,000 feet within minutes, creating a towering wall of debris that moves northeast at 45 miles per hour. Visibility within the storm drops to zero as particles fill the air with density approaching that of liquid. The storm's leading edge extends across a front spanning 12 miles, making evasion impossible for vehicles already committed to the highway. Martinez encounters the storm's leading edge at 3:52 p.m., experiencing instant transition from clear visibility to complete darkness. His headlights become useless as dust particles reflect light back into his eyes, creating a blinding glare effect. Martinez immediately applies brakes and activates emergency flashers, but his truck's momentum carries him forward at 45 miles per hour into conditions where steering becomes impossible. The storm's intensity exceeds anything in Martinez's 12 years of desert driving. Wind speeds within the dust cloud reach 70 miles per hour, creating lateral forces that overwhelm his truck's stability. Fine dust penetrates the cab through ventilation systems, making breathing difficult and coating all surfaces with alkaline powder. Martinez loses radio contact as dust interferes with antenna systems, cutting him off from other drivers and emergency services. Within the storm, temperature drops 30 degrees as solar heating disappears behind the dust cloud. This rapid temperature change creates additional atmospheric instability, generating downdrafts and updrafts that buffet vehicles with unpredictable force. The combination of zero visibility, extreme winds, and unstable air creates conditions that make vehicle control impossible regardless of driver skill or experience. Sullivan enters the storm 60 seconds behind Martinez, encountering conditions that have already worsened. His independent truck lacks some of the safety equipment standard on commercial fleet vehicles, including advanced braking systems and stability controls. Sullivan's truck begins fishtailing as crosswinds exceed his ability to compensate, and he loses sight of the road completely within seconds of entering the dust cloud. Chen's livestock trailer enters the storm at 3:54 p.m., with cattle beginning to panic from the sudden darkness and violent motion. The animal's movement shifts the trailer's center of gravity unpredictably, adding to Chen's control difficulties. His truck's air filtration system clogs immediately with dust, causing engine performance to deteriorate as the storm's intensity peaks. Rodriguez's petroleum tanker encounters the storm's most violent section, where wind speeds reach their maximum intensity. The hazardous cargo adds weight that initially provides stability, but the tanker's high profile creates tremendous wind resistance. Rodriguez feels his truck being pushed sideways across the highway as visibility drops to absolute zero. Thompson's refrigerated trailer enters the storm with auxiliary systems running, creating additional electrical load that stresses his truck's charging system. Dust infiltration begins affecting electronic controls, and his refrigeration unit starts cycling erratically as air filters clog. Thompson loses all visual references and begins steering by feel, trying to maintain position on the roadway. Williams' flatbed load creates the worst possible aerodynamic profile for storm conditions, with machinery parts acting as sails that catch crosswinds. His military training helps him maintain composure, but the physical forces acting on his vehicle exceed human ability to control. Williams' truck begins sliding sideways despite his steering inputs. Russo's empty trailer becomes completely uncontrollable within seconds of entering the storm. The lightweight and high profile create a combination that makes his truck behave more like an aircraft than a ground vehicle. Crosswinds lift his trailer wheels off the pavement repeatedly, and Russo realizes he has lost all ability to influence his truck's direction. The fatal collision sequence begins at 3:56 p.m. when Martinez's truck, traveling blind at reduced speed, encounters a slight curve in the highway. Unable to see the road's direction change, Martinez continues straight, crossing the center line into oncoming traffic lanes. His truck's momentum carries it 200 feet off the roadway before striking a concrete culvert at 25 miles per hour. The impact crushes Martinez's cab and ruptures his fuel tanks, though fire does not immediately develop due to dust suppression of ignition sources. Martinez becomes trapped in the wreckage and loses consciousness from impact injuries. His truck blocks the highway's eastbound lane, creating an invisible obstacle for following vehicles traveling in complete darkness. Sullivan's truck approaches Martinez's position at 35 miles per hour, unable to see the wreckage until impact becomes inevitable. Sullivan attempts emergency braking, but dust-coated pavement provides minimal traction, and his truck strikes Martinez's trailer at full speed. The collision destroys both vehicles' cabs and creates a debris field spanning both traffic lanes. Chen's livestock trailer encounters the wreckage at 3:57 p.m., with cattle still panicking from storm conditions. Chen sees brake lights momentarily through the dust, but cannot stop in time on the slippery surface. His truck strikes Sullivan's wreckage and overturns, spilling cattle and cargo across the highway. The overturned trailer blocks the remaining clear roadway. Rodriguez approaches the accident scene 30 seconds later, his petroleum tanker representing the greatest hazard in the developing disaster. Rodriguez glimpses the wreckage through momentary breaks in the dust cloud and attempts desperate evasive action. His tanker truck leaves the roadway to avoid the collision but rolls over on the soft desert shoulder, rupturing the cargo tank. Diesel fuel spreads across the accident scene as Rodriguez's tanker comes to rest upside down. The fuel does not immediately ignite due to dust suppression, but it creates an additional hazard for emergency responders. Rodriguez survives the initial rollover but becomes trapped in his inverted cab as fuel vapors build around the wreckage. Thompson's refrigerated truck approaches the accident scene at 3:58 p.m., with his view obscured by both dust and smoke beginning to rise from the wreckage. Thompson sees the disaster developing and attempts to stop, but his truck's weight and the slippery conditions prevent effective braking. His truck strikes Chen's overturned trailer and catches fire from electrical shorts in his refrigeration system. Williams arrives at the scene moments later, his flatbed load now acting as a massive projectile in the storm conditions. Williams sees flames through the dust and attempts emergency evasion, but his heavy load makes quick maneuvering impossible. His truck strikes Thompson's burning vehicle and adds its cargo to the debris field blocking the highway. Russo's empty trailer approaches last, traveling at the highest speed due to his lighter load. Russo sees the glow of fires through the dust storm, but cannot determine the exact location of obstacles. His truck strikes the accumulated wreckage at 40 miles per hour, completing the 7-vehicle collision and creating a debris field extending 300 feet along the highway. The sandstorm continues for another 20 minutes after the collision, preventing immediate rescue attempts and allowing fires to spread through the wreckage. Dust suppresses some ignition sources, but also interferes with firefighting efforts when emergency crews finally arrive. The combination of multiple fuel sources, scattered cargo, and extreme weather conditions creates a disaster scene of unprecedented complexity. Emergency response begins at 4:25 p.m. when a passing motorist, traveling in the opposite direction, manages to reach an emergency call box and reports seeing flames through the dissipating dust storm. The caller cannot provide specific details about casualties or the number of vehicles involved, reporting only that a major fire is burning near mile marker 127 on Highway 50. The Eureka County Sheriff's Department receives the emergency call and immediately dispatches available units, though the nearest patrol car is stationed 40 miles away. Sheriff's deputies begin coordinating with State Highway Patrol, volunteer fire departments, and medical services, but the remote location limits immediate response capabilities. The dispatcher estimates minimum response time at 45 minutes for first responders. Nevada Highway Patrol dispatches 2 units from opposite directions, with officers instructed to establish scene control and assess casualty requirements. Radio communications remain difficult due to atmospheric disturbance from the storm, and initial reports fail to convey the disaster's true scope. Officers receive instructions to request additional resources once scene assessment is complete. The volunteer fire department from Eureka responds with 2 pumper trucks and a rescue vehicle, representing the area's entire emergency firefighting capability. Fire Chief Robert Anderson leads the response, though his department has never encountered a disaster of this magnitude. The department's equipment and training focus on structural fires and small vehicle accidents, not multi-truck collisions with hazardous materials. Medical response begins with an ambulance from Eureka General Hospital, the only advanced life support unit available within a 100-mile radius. Paramedic Supervisor Janet Morrison coordinates with hospital staff to prepare for multiple casualties, though initial reports provide no information about survivor numbers or injury severity. The hospital begins preparing its trauma bay and contacting neighboring facilities for potential patient transfers. First responders arrive at 5:10 p.m. to find a scene of devastation extending far beyond their initial expectations. 7 commercial trucks lie scattered across the highway and adjacent desert, with multiple fires still burning despite the earlier dust storm suppression effects. Thick black smoke from burning diesel fuel and cargo creates visibility problems that complicate rescue efforts. Sheriff's Deputy Michael Torres arrives first and immediately requests additional resources, reporting multiple fatalities and extensive wreckage. Torres begins establishing a perimeter around the accident scene while attempting to determine if any survivors require immediate extraction. The scale of destruction exceeds anything in his 15-year law enforcement career. Fire Chief Anderson arrives minutes later and begins coordinating suppression efforts on multiple vehicle fires. His crews face challenges from scattered fuel sources, burning cargo, and difficult access to potential survivors. The petroleum tanker's ruptured cargo tank creates particular hazards, with diesel fuel continuing to feed fires throughout the wreckage. Paramedic Morrison begins triage procedures, working systematically through the wreckage to locate survivors and assess injuries. The violence of the collision and subsequent fires has made casualty identification difficult, with several victims trapped in severely damaged cabs. Morrison quickly realizes that recovery operations will require specialized equipment not available locally. The first confirmed fatalities are discovered at 5:30 p.m. when rescue crews reach Martinez's truck, finding the driver overcome by impact injuries and smoke inhalation. Martinez's position in the wreckage suggests he survived the initial collision but succumbed before rescue could arrive. His truck's crushed cab required hydraulic tools to access, equipment that took precious time to deploy. Sullivan's body is recovered from his truck's remains at 5:45 p.m., with evidence indicating he perished in the collision with Martinez's trailer. The impact severity left no possibility of survival, though Sullivan's position suggests he attempted to brace for impact in his final moments. Rescue crews note that earlier response might not have changed this outcome given the collision's violence. Chin is found trapped in his overturned livestock trailer at 6 p.m., having been overcome by smoke from the developing fires. Chen appears to have survived the initial rollover, but succumbed to smoke inhalation as flames spread through the accident scene. Several cattle also perish in the accident, adding to the scene's complexity and emotional impact. Rodriguez is discovered in his inverted tanker cab at 6:15 p.m., having been overcome by diesel vapors and smoke. Rodriguez's position indicates he remained conscious after the rollover, but became trapped when the cab deformed. The petroleum cargo's toxic vapors likely contributed to his death before rescue crews could effect extraction. Thompson's recovery proves most difficult due to extensive fire damage to his refrigerated truck. Emergency crews locate his remains at 6:30 p.m., with evidence suggesting he died from smoke inhalation after being trapped by impact damage. Thompson's truck's electrical systems may have contributed to ignition sources that spread fires through the accident scene. Williams is found in his flatbed truck's cab at 6:45 p.m., having succumbed to a combination of impact injuries and smoke exposure. Williams' military training appears to have helped him survive the initial collision, but subsequent fire development proved fatal before rescue arrival. His heavy cargo complicated extraction efforts and may have worsened impact severity. Russo's recovery concludes the casualty search at 7 p.m., with the final victim located in his truck's crushed cab. Russo appears to have died from impact injuries when his truck struck the accumulated wreckage at high speed. His empty trailer's instability and storm conditions likely contributed to his inability to avoid the collision. The immediate aftermath reveals a casualty toll that shocks emergency responders and the local community. 7 experienced truckers have lost their lives in a collision that unfolds in minutes but creates consequences lasting decades. All 7 men are pronounced dead at the scene, with no survivors requiring medical transport. The accident becomes Nevada's deadliest trucking disaster and one of the worst weather-related transportation accidents in state history. The Nevada Highway Patrol closes Highway 50 for 18 hours while crews clear wreckage and investigate the accident scene. The closure disrupts freight traffic throughout the region and strands motorists in remote communities dependent on the highway for supplies. Economic impact begins immediately as mining operations lose critical deliveries and agricultural shipments spoil in the desert heat. Families of the 7 victims receive notification throughout the evening of July 23rd, with law enforcement officers delivering news that destroys 7 households in a single day. Martinez's wife learns of his death while preparing dinner for their 3 children. Sullivan's family receives word during his daughter's birthday preparations. Chen's wife is contacted at her job in Reno, requiring a 4-hour drive to reach the accident scene. Rodriguez's young wife, pregnant with their 2nd child, receives the devastating news from California Highway Patrol officers who coordinate with Nevada authorities. Thompson's wife must be told that her husband will not return home to their 5 children as planned. Williams' parents, his next of kin, learn of their son's death through a phone call that ends their retirement plans. Russo's wife receives notification while working her evening shift as a hospital nurse. Local media coverage begins within hours, with radio stations broadcasting initial reports about a major trucking accident on Highway 50. Television crews from Reno and Las Vegas arrive the following morning to document the scene and interview investigators. The story attracts national attention due to the accident's unusual circumstances and high casualty count. The investigation into 7 preventable deaths begins immediately, with Nevada Highway Patrol accident reconstruction specialists working alongside federal investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration dispatches inspectors to examine vehicle maintenance records and driver qualifications. The investigation's scope reflects the accident's significance and potential implications for highway safety policy. Lead investigator Captain James Patterson coordinates the multi-agency effort, drawing on 30 years of experience with traffic accidents. Patterson has never encountered a weather-related collision of this magnitude and requests additional expertise from atmospheric scientists and meteorologists. The investigation team includes specialists in commercial vehicle safety, hazardous materials, and accident reconstruction. Physical evidence collection begins with detailed photography and measurement of the accident scene. Investigators document vehicle positions, skid marks, and debris patterns to reconstruct the collision sequence. The violence of impact and subsequent fire damage has destroyed much evidence, requiring innovative techniques to determine what happened in the critical minutes before impact. Weather data analysis reveals the sandstorm's unprecedented intensity and rapid development. Meteorologist Dr. Sarah Chun reviews atmospheric conditions leading to the microburst event that triggered the dust storm. Her analysis shows that existing weather monitoring systems could not have predicted the storm's exact location or timing, though general conditions favored severe weather development. Vehicle inspection focuses on mechanical factors that might have contributed to the collision. Federal investigators examine brake systems, steering components, and tire conditions on all 7 trucks. Despite fire damage, enough evidence remains to determine that mechanical failure played no role in the accident. All vehicles were properly maintained and operated within legal parameters. Driver record analysis reveals that all 7 men possessed valid commercial licenses with clean safety records. None of the drivers showed evidence of alcohol or drug impairment, and logbook examination indicates compliance with rest period requirements. The investigation finds no evidence of driver error or regulatory violations that contributed to the accident. Communications analysis examines radio traffic between drivers and dispatchers before the accident. Recordings reveal normal operational communications with no discussion of severe weather conditions or safety concerns. The lack of real-time weather information along Highway 50 emerges as a critical factor in the driver's decision-making process. Toxicology examinations of the 7 victims confirm that impairment played no role in the accident. All drivers test negative for alcohol and controlled substances, supporting the conclusion that the collision resulted from environmental factors beyond human control. Medical examiner findings indicate that most victims survived initial impacts, but succumbed to smoke inhalation before rescue could arrive. The root cause analysis identifies the sandstorm's sudden development as the primary factor in 7 preventable deaths. The investigation determines that existing weather monitoring systems provided no advance warning of conditions that made highway travel lethal. Investigators conclude that improved weather detection and communication systems could have prevented the tragedy by allowing drivers to seek shelter. Contributing factors include Highway 50's remote location, which delayed emergency response and limited rescue capabilities. The investigation notes that faster response might have saved lives, particularly victims who survived initial impacts. Limited shelter options along the highway also contributed by forcing drivers to continue through dangerous conditions rather than seeking protection. The investigation reveals systematic deficiencies in desert highway safety that extend beyond this single accident. Inadequate weather monitoring, limited emergency response capabilities, and insufficient driver education about severe weather create conditions where similar tragedies remain possible. Investigators recommend comprehensive reforms to prevent future deaths on remote highways. Legal proceedings begin within weeks of the accident as families of the 7 victims pursue wrongful death claims against various parties. Consolidated Freight Lines faces litigation over Martinez's death, with attorneys arguing that company policies pressure drivers to maintain schedules despite dangerous conditions. The company's safety record and training programs undergo intense scrutiny during legal discovery. Sullivan's family files suit against Nevada Department of Transportation, claiming inadequate weather monitoring and emergency response capabilities contributed to his death. Legal arguments focus on the state's duty to provide safe highway conditions and adequate warning systems. The case establishes precedent for government liability in weather-related transportation accidents. Chin's estate pursues claims against multiple parties, including the livestock transport company and state highway authorities. Attorneys argue that better emergency response could have saved Chin's life after the initial rollover. The case highlights deficiencies in rescue capabilities along remote highways and prompts discussions about mandatory safety equipment. Rodriguez's family files the largest wrongful death claim, seeking damages from his employer, equipment manufacturers, and government agencies. The case focuses on hazardous materials transport safety and emergency response procedures for chemical spills. Rodriguez's young widow receives a substantial settlement that provides for their children's education and support. Thompson's wrongful death case involves his employer's scheduling practices and refrigerated transport safety requirements. Legal arguments center on whether time pressures contributed to Thompson's decision to continue through dangerous weather. The case results in industry-wide changes to scheduling policies for perishable cargo transport. Williams' family pursues claims based on inadequate weather warnings and emergency response delays. The case establishes legal precedent requiring government agencies to provide reasonable weather monitoring on major freight routes. Settlement funds help establish a scholarship program for transportation safety education. Russo's estate files suit against multiple parties, arguing that his extensive experience created false confidence in handling severe weather. The case examines training requirements for desert highway driving and establishes standards for weather-related decision-making. Legal proceedings conclude with settlements totaling millions of dollars for the 7 families. Criminal investigations examine potential negligence charges against government officials and corporate executives. Prosecutors ultimately declined to file charges, determining that the accident resulted from systemic deficiencies rather than individual criminal conduct. The decision disappoints victims' families but reflects the complex factors contributing to the tragedy. Regulatory changes begin immediately after the investigation's completion, with Nevada implementing comprehensive improvements to Highway 50 safety systems. The state installs automated weather monitoring stations every 20 miles along the route, providing real-time data on wind speeds, visibility, and atmospheric conditions. These systems connect to a central monitoring facility that can issue immediate warnings to drivers and emergency services. The Federal Highway Administration mandates similar weather monitoring systems on all designated freight corridors in extreme weather regions. The new requirements, known informally as the Nevada 7 regulations, establish minimum standards for weather detection and driver notification. Implementation costs reach millions of dollars but prevent numerous accidents over the following decades. Emergency response capabilities undergo major expansion, with additional fire and rescue equipment stationed at strategic points along Highway 50. The state contracts with private helicopter services to provide rapid response for medical emergencies and coordinates with military bases for emergency airlift capabilities. Response times for serious accidents drop from 45 minutes to 15 minutes. Driver education programs receive mandatory updates to include severe weather recognition and response procedures. Commercial license testing begins, including questions about sandstorm safety and emergency procedures. Trucking companies must provide specialized training for drivers operating in desert conditions, with periodic recertification required. Vehicle equipment requirements expand to include enhanced communication systems, emergency locator beacons, and improved air filtration systems. New trucks operating on designated desert routes must carry additional water, emergency supplies, and shelter equipment. These requirements add costs, but provide crucial safety margins during emergencies. Highway infrastructure improvements include construction of emergency shelter areas every 10 miles along Highway 50. These facilities provide protection during severe weather and staging areas for emergency response. Solar-powered communication equipment allows stranded drivers to contact emergency services directly, eliminating dependence on distant call boxes. The long-term impact of the 7 deaths extends far beyond Nevada's borders, influencing national transportation safety policy and industry practices. The accident becomes a case study in safety schools nationwide, teaching future drivers and safety professionals about the importance of weather awareness and emergency preparedness. The victim's sacrifice leads to systemic changes that save hundreds of lives over subsequent decades. Memorial services for the 7 truckers draw thousands of attendees from throughout the transportation industry. A permanent memorial erected at mile marker 127 honors Martinez, Sullivan, Chun, Rodriguez, Thompson, Williams, and Russo, ensuring their sacrifice is remembered by future travelers. The memorial includes a weather monitoring station that provides real-time conditions to passing drivers. Families of the victims established the Highway 50 Safety Foundation, using settlement funds to promote transportation safety research and education. The foundation sponsors annual conferences on severe weather driving and provides scholarships for safety engineering students. Their advocacy ensures that lessons learned from the tragedy continue benefiting the industry. Industry associations adopt the accident as a defining moment in trucking safety culture. Professional driver organizations use the story to emphasize the importance of weather awareness and conservative decision-making. Company safety programs incorporate scenario-based training derived from the accident's circumstances, helping drivers recognize and respond to similar conditions. Research institutions study the accident's meteorological aspects, leading to improved understanding of desert weather patterns and microburst formation. This research contributes to better forecasting models and warning systems that extend beyond transportation applications. The scientific knowledge gained helps prevent weather-related accidents across multiple industries. Modern Highway 50 bears little resemblance to the dangerous route where 7 men died in 1971. Advanced weather monitoring, improved emergency response, and enhanced driver training create safety systems that would have prevented the original tragedy. Traffic fatalities on the route dropped dramatically following implementation of the new safety measures. The accident's influence extends internationally, with other countries adopting similar safety requirements for remote highways in extreme climates. Australia, Canada, and several Middle Eastern nations implement weather monitoring and emergency response systems based on lessons learned from the Nevada desert highway crash. The global impact demonstrates how 7 deaths in a remote location can drive worldwide safety improvements. Current trucking professionals often learn about the 1971 accident during their training, understanding it as a pivotal moment in industry safety evolution. The story serves as a reminder that experienced drivers can be overcome by conditions beyond their control and that systemic safety measures are essential for protecting lives. Modern drivers benefit from technologies and procedures that exist because 7 men died on a desert highway. The 7 truckers who lost their lives on July 23, 1971, could not have known that their deaths would catalyze revolutionary changes in transportation safety. Their final journey through a desert sandstorm became a turning point that transformed how America approaches highway safety in extreme conditions. Robert Martinez, James Sullivan, Thomas Chun, Michael Rodriguez, David Thompson, Kenneth Williams, and Anthony Russo died preventable deaths that led to systematic reforms saving countless future lives. Their legacy reminds us that safety systems often develop in response to tragedy rather than preventing it. The weather monitoring stations, emergency response capabilities, and driver training programs that now protect travelers on Highway 50 exist because 7 experienced professionals encountered conditions that exceeded human ability to survive. Their sacrifice demonstrates the ongoing need for vigilance, preparation, and respect for natural forces that can overwhelm even the most skilled individuals. The transformation of Highway 50 from a death trap to a model of safety engineering proves that systemic changes can prevent similar tragedies. However, the accident also illustrates how economic pressures, regulatory gaps, and technological limitations can create conditions where preventable deaths become inevitable. The 7 families who lost fathers, husbands, and sons understood this reality in the most painful way possible, yet their advocacy helped ensure that other families would be spared similar loss. If this story about preventable tragedy and lost lives gave you insight into why comprehensive safety systems matter, leave your like and share with others who appreciate learning from fatal accidents so that others might live.